And welcome to the Prepped Pastors Podcast. I am the real Phil, and I have the real Kirk with me. You can see his fantastic picture, but the voice is coming from afar.
Yes, I'm a call-in guest today. Thanks for running the show for me this week, Phil. I appreciate it. I am headed back from the bowels of Texas. I went and procured some building materials to help with Free State Homestead. There will be videos coming shortly on Free State Homestead about it. But yeah, we took a really big step forward toward building a house this week, and I am pumped.
Cool. Yeah. We have the ability. You have the same soundboard that I have, and we have the ability to have call-ins to our show. I don't know why we don't. We've done it a couple of times in the bunker.
We have done it a couple of times in the bunker. I think we did one show last season with me like this.
Yeah.
And we can do that more. And so, hey, if you're out there in internet land and you've got some super sweet, quantifiable intel, hey, hit us up. And if we think it's going to fit the show and we think it's going to benefit our viewers, we'll bring you on as a call-in guy.
As the great Mr. Limbaugh used to say, if you're entertaining, or if I can make you entertaining,
there you go.
Then you'll get on the show.
And the world's just a little darker place without that dude yelling into his microphone.
It's a real gift. It's pretty amazing. His contributions, he may not have done everything the first. He may not have been the first for everything, but he certainly brought a lot of things into mainstream. And he opened the eyes of a generation of boomers with their heads in the sand.
I absolutely believe that I was among them. I'm not a boomer, but I was among them as far as people he opened my eyes.
Gen Xers like us were certainly within his realm.
Sure.
Well, I mean, along those lines, what were your first memories? What would you say? How old were you? When did you first?
So I would have been in my early 30s.
Okay.
And I was a young youth pastor, newly married. And I was picking up some extra work with a dear family friend working on a house remodel project. And he listened to Limbaugh and Hannity all day long. Like the radio never turned off, and you got Hannity going, I just need 3 hours a day, I mean? And so, and
I'm trying to remember the name of so it was kind of a trio. The other guy was, the Jewish guy from San Francisco. What was his name? He's still on the air.
I know.
He's still kicking around.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, but I can't remember either.
Yes,
but anyway, no, it's okay. We would listen to him, and Hannity always just annoyed the crap out of me. And certainly now he annoys me even more than before because he's just in the pocket of whoever's controlling the media now. He plays his role really, really well.
I see.
And so then, but Limbaugh, I always felt like he was very honest when he got something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to him consistently, which I didn't always, but when I was working that job, he was very honest to get it wrong. I think we try to be that on this show, like when we get something wrong, we usually are pretty open about it. It was just it was great. And so that would have been the post 9/11 kind of situation, and it was I really appreciated him, and he opened my eyes to just some of the real silliness that was going on in American politics. And I think a lot of the things that he warned us about have absolutely come to fruition.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, they did. Well, it's how he kind of made it to when you were listening to him. I started listening to him living around his home station in the Bay Area.
Okay.
When I was 11, 12 years old. So, kind of before he went national. And it was not quite as polished, but he was always pretty good. So, anyway, thank you, Mr. Limbaugh. And
So anyway.
we wouldn't be podcasts. The idea of doing shows like this, I think without him, none of us would be doing it quite the same.
No, I totally agree. I think you're absolutely right. And you and I have been very critical of President Trump. We call it when he gets it right. We call it when he got it wrong. And I think giving Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom, just months before he died
that was a good call.
Absolutely the right call. 100% the right call. I think that I think he did really good for the world around him. And I think that he was one of those guys that like even when he walked through his addiction to pain pills, I think he did it with grace and with transparency. And I think he was an inspiration to a lot of people to go get help. And he didn't always get it right, but I think he
when was that
about it when he got it wrong.
So I knew that happened, but so when I joined the military, I really lost track of him because I wasn't able to listen to radio all day.
I want to say maybe like 2010, 2012.
Oh,
something
okay.
Like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, battled pain for most of his career. And, obviously he wasn't a picture of health. He was quite obese and those kinds of things, which, I mean, when you sit behind a desk all day and, it's pretty ask me how I know. It's pretty tempting to just drink sweet coffee and eat donuts, and that I broke that cycle a couple of years ago, and it was a very hard cycle to break, and I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm working forward on it. And trips to Texas where Chicken Express is available, that doesn't help. But
Chicken Express, I haven't heard of that.
Oh, Chicken E, man.
Is that better than Chick-fil-A? Because I mean,
better than Chick-fil-A. Yep, 100%.
Okay,
100% better than Chick-fil-A. Different. Like, it doesn't replace Chick-fil-A. It's just, for me, because I haven't had it in 20 some years, it was a novelty, and it was amazing that it had not changed. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just chicken strips, gravy, roll. I didn't eat the roll. I just ate the chicken strips and gravy. Dude, it was wonderful. Wonderful. So, anyway, back to we got headlines.
There's a lot happening.
We've got intel. We've got stuff to talk about. I'm going to say the prepper. I did not get my shopping list done this week. I hope you didn't either. We had talked about doing a shopping list special. Did you do that? If you did,
I don't have a list. I mean,
I got like 3 items out of the 5 that I said I was going to get.
Okay.
I wanted to get links and everything for people, but we can talk about those things. Good. I'm glad you got a few of those things, but I'm going to say, based on one of the headlines I know you want to talk about, that I'm going to say the number one prepping item of the week this week is a generator or some kind of ability to make power.
Yeah, you better have a backup heat source in this country.
Oh, buddy. So let's start with some headlines, and I know probably right where you want to start, so I'm going to hand it off to you to get going.
Oh, okay. Well, headlines. Let's see. Antifa, just like was it this last summer, or was it summer before last when they went around burning down California and Oregon?
Yeah, summer. Yep, summer before.
They have learned what worked and what didn't work from that, and they are actively engaged in terror attacks in the South right now. So North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia is what I've heard of. I did just hear that California has had some similar attacks, and so I hadn't heard Oregon, but if you've heard Oregon, then, I mean, it would make sense. Northern California, Southern Oregon, the whole I-5 corridor really is what's going to happen. But this time they added the I-95 corridor.
Yes. Now, do we know, is there real solid Antifa intel, or do we, are you
I don't think so.
Okay. You're speculating there. I think it's a valid theory, but I just want to be honest that if it's a theory, we should tell people it's a theory. I mean, you watched and you defended me 2 summers ago.
I say if Antifa does not want to openly admit that it's them, then let them sue me and see how that goes. I'll call it now. It's
Sure,
Antifa.
yeah. Well,
Screw you guys.
You know that I took a lot of crap.
What you, you have a lot of friends and followers that are solid middle of the road, lukewarm.
Yeah, I do.
That they've kind of barely every once in a while poke one eye out from their little hole in the sand. Personally, it's not that I haven't had those friends and family. It's that I've just cut them out of my life.
Right.
I've just silently, as they, look at me with contempt and think that I'm crazy, stopped communicating with them because why?
Yeah. Well, and so for
you're
me,
still trying to reach them.
I'm still trying to reach them. I have not given up total hope on everybody yet, and so
I've given them over to God. They're in God's hands now.
I got it. I understand. So two summers ago, I caught a lot of crap from people that follow me on social media.
Because we said Antifa right away.
We said Antifa straight out of the gate.
Yep.
That those fires, because
it
they
made
were
sense.
like, no, it's climate change, and it's just a bad fire season. And okay, listen. So maybe some climate change plays a role in the dryness. And I don't believe in man-made climate change. I just believe that our climate cycles and changes, right? But so the fact that we're in a cyclical difference. We're at the end of an ice age. Things are a little drier, a little hotter. Okay, I got it. I understand. But I would say when you see fires on I-5 and 395 and those kinds of things that are equally spread out a mile apart in a very quantifiable pattern, that is not climate change.
Well, and you and I have friends and family in the area where it was happening, and I know of people who actively caught people.
I know people personally who went back to their homes after evacuating to get that one last thing or to do that one last sweep, and they found people spreading gas,
lighting fires, right, exactly.
And I was like, and they held them at gunpoint, like Estacada.
Clackamas area. I knew someone in the Silverton area that did that. Someone I went to high school with. He and his family caught someone on their property. They were chopping down or somehow like a chainsaw cutting down a electrical line. Yeah.
And so we know that the radical left is actively trying to destabilize America.
Correct.
The radical left is absolutely more on the side of China, more on the side of communism than anything
They're
else.
more on the side of anarchists. They're borderline anarchists because they just want everything to burn.
Yeah, they want everything to burn.
Spoiled brat snowflakes.
100%.
This is the participation trophy generation that has not gotten their way, and they are really angry at Biden for not writing off their student loans, although a bunch of them did get them written off anyway.
Well, no, all that got frozen. Nobody got a dime yet because the courts froze all of that. So,
well, I hope so, because some of them got a couple $100,000 of their student loans written off.
Yeah, they were going to, and so I was really, really happy when all that got frozen. No checks were issued. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Now,
I hope they're accruing interest.
That won't.
I think it probably will end up happening. They'll do
it'll end up.
They'll do like they were doing for teachers, right? Go teach in an underserved area or do some whatever. They're trying to like treat it like reparations. And so for sticking out through COVID and being a teacher, we're going to write off your student loans. And
to be clear, I'm 100% for reparations. I think that African warlords should absolutely pay reparations toward people who
those who were in Africa and capturing. Although tracking down who to give it to at this point is really kind of difficult because you can't just go by skin color.
Way to but we got to go all the way back to the beginning of the supply chain, and the beginning of the supply chain should absolutely pay reparations. So let's get on that.
You're talking about Ireland.
So
are we going to go after the British government for enslaving the Irish and 100%. Shipping them here?
100%. 100%.
I'm with that. You hear that, Marco? We're coming for you.
My last name starts with Irish. Okay, so so there you go. there you go. Like I mean, I'm ready. They can send my reparation check anytime they like. There were more Irish slaves in America than black slaves.
Well, I didn't take any handouts during COVID, and I'm certainly not going to start taking them now. So
I did not either. Even though denominationally I was pressured hardcore to take the bailout.
To take the loans.
You know, the F word was trying really hard to make us take the loans and put our churches indebted to the federal government. But I didn't do it. I wouldn't do it. So anyway, I don't know.
So that's the fires up and down the I-95 corridor. Basically, if you've caught on the news, electrical substations and components. So rather than like going down and cutting down lines and starting fires, now they're going to the critical substations, which don't have good backups. Which, if you're not aware of how the electrical system in our country works, it is antiquated, it is outdated, it is held together with lipstick and bubble gum and duct tape. It is very, very fragile. And
if you think that's a conspiracy theory,
it just is.
I'd like for you to reference back to January of last year when 10,000 homes in the Fort Collins and Boulder area burned because of how antiquated our electric system.
Yeah, and it's customer based for the most part, but it's highly subsidized also. And unfortunately, most of that money goes to the pockets of those who are on the utility commissions, the people who are involved in the upper level administration. Of course, line workers, as we know, make a very good living. A lot of them are six figures and plus. And you know, the argument of whether they deserve it or not is not one that I want to make here. I could easily be convinced that they do. They certainly work hard for it, but it is also a unionized sort of thing. So guaranteed there are abuses. Unions make lots of money. So our point being, rather than updating infrastructure, rather than making improvements at the level that they could, and rather than safeguarding what some people consider to be critical, I don't. The money goes to people and abuses, which is just what happens in a large corporation, entity, government, quasi-government. Bureaucracy is the word. So it's fragile. And somebody, whether they're on purpose or through intelligence or research or whatever, some key substations, key points are being attacked. And they're using firearms because, of course, right now we're trying to push firearms, gun laws, and that's going to be one of the things that they use.
Today is the day. We should talk about that in a second. Today's the day. Today's the day. So,
but anyway, initially I was in the camp of believing the argument that it was rednecks drunk and shooting things, because if you don't know, when you shoot a transformer, it makes a big fireworks show. Well, you don't have to shoot it, just like when they blow up, and occasionally they blow up from electricity or from a falling tree. There's
a squirrel,
whatever. Yeah. So, and if you shoot one and you see the show, you might be inclined to shoot a second one. But no, it appears now that that's not what happened.
No.
It appears now to be targeted because there's more of them, and it's the ones that got hit. So
well, let's be clear. The major media is reporting that this is not
not linked, not terrorist.
Attack. But the FBI has absolutely issued memorandums to major law enforcement, and I have confirmed this with major law enforcement agencies. They were like, hey, by the way, there are coordinated attacks happening on our nation's infrastructure.
Right.
So like, which, kind of like, oh, which is it? So we know that it is a coordinated attack at this point. We don't know exactly who. I think it is Antifa. I think that the radical left, and I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it until we get kicked off of social media, and then I'll keep saying it just to the world. The left does not want to win you to their ideals.
No.
They do not want to convince you that their philosophy is correct. They want you to die.
They want to start a fire that ignites a civil war that results in millions of people dying. That's what they want.
They believe the only way to combat climate
save
change is
the world.
60%
less people.
A 60% die off. That's exactly what they're looking for. 60% or greater.
Yeah.
Die off. Some of them are crazy enough to believe that even if it's them, they will have given the ultimate sacrifice to save the earth.
Died for something.
They bought their own propaganda.
They're true believers.
They're true believers. They're going to martyr themselves.
Yeah.
They don't believe they're going to get 70 virgins. They believe they're going to save the earth, and they'll be reincarnated back as a beautiful tree. And in
reincarnation
the words of Dane Cook, I hope that
that is karma and reincarnation are common beliefs amongst that crowd. That's a good point.
Yeah. And so
they want to be reincarnated to a utopia.
In the words of Dane Cook, I hope they're right. I hope they come back as a tree, and then I hope a big sweaty woodsman comes and chops them down, drags them to a pulp factory, and the Bible is printed on their paper. That's what I hope.
Well, we could just cut their skin off and print it on there now. I mean, if we run out of paper, if they don't want us to use trees anymore, we can start using skin. Good old-fashioned leathers. But they need to be really, really white. So probably we need to be looking at gingers, but a narrow segment of gingers that are not covered in freckles, because freckles are going to screw it up.
Freckles will mess up. So anyway, I want so please, all the joking aside.
Yes, we're joking.
Buy a generator. Buy a generator. Stockpile some fuel.
Rearrange your life to not be dependent on electricity at the status that it cannot be produced in a small scale. Charge batteries, right? 12-volt lights. Get away from this leaching of high usage electricity. Yes. And preferably your generator needs to be dual or multi-fuel. I would make sure that it runs on propane.
Make sure that it runs on propane. Have the parts to convert your generators, or just buy one right off the shelf. You can get them. They got them at Costco right now. Multi-fuel generators. They're sitting on the shelf at Costco. Do not wait until you are dealing with a blackout, because they will be gone.
They'll be for sale out of a U-Haul just outside of town.
For 10 times what they're normally going for on the shelf. And if you don't think that's going to happen, I just want you to look at a hurricane.
Yeah, it's happened
Any
before.
Hurricane
It'll happen again.
On the Gulf Coast. Hold on a second. On the Gulf Coast, people come from the north. Yankees come from the north.
Oh hell!
With a truck full of generators, and they sell. They
people from Georgia, northern Florida come to. Well, it's not going to pencil at $6 a gallon diesel to drive down from New Jersey and do that. And it's probably $10 a gallon over in Jersey.
It has penciled before, and it's not. It's $4 a gallon diesel right now in the South. So please get what you need now. Don't wait until a crisis. That's why we get on here every week and rant, because we want you guys to get what you need.
Be prepared
now. Well, but the kids need Christmas presents, Pastor Kirk.
No, they don't.
The kids need Christmas presents. They need heat.
They need
warmth,
wool socks,
wool socks, good sleeping bags,
snow boots.
Get what you need, guys. Get what you need, and those things right now are available.
Mostly. So the big supply has kind of been dwindling. I'm noticing. We are just in my own little neighborhood surveys. I'm noticing that the abundance that we saw and expected, right? So if you go back a little bit, a couple years ago, we had the massive pile of ships not getting processed because the liberals all wanted to work from home. Thank a union. People, People lost everything while all of their inventory that they paid for sat in ships, and to which I'd say, you bought it from China, you knew the risk. But all of that has been processed into warehouses. Places like Walmart built massive new warehouses to store this stuff because they had an influx of this, right? It all backed up for several years and finally showed up. And now it's sort of been picked through and gone, and, you know, the expired food's been thrown away, and we're not replacing it. So
right. Well, you know, here's all the prices on all. Example earlier today, and I'll give credit where credit is due. I don't always agree with Full Spectrum Survival. He does tend to be a bit of a clickbaiter, but he usually has pretty good facts. So he gave the great example of, if you own a company that you sell 5 bicycles a year or 10 bicycles a year for $4 a piece. You sell a bicycle, you go back and you build a bicycle, and you keep bicycles on the shelf all the time. He's like, they don't care if the price goes up to $50 a bicycle, because they're going to be making the same amount of money. You know, they're going to double their profits if they only sell 2 bicycles, and they'll sit on a bunch of inventory to double their income. Not a problem for them. Please understand that these companies are not coming to your rescue. Okay? Now, I can argue that capitalism is good, and I don't really I want companies to make whatever amount of profit that they can get on an item, you know, but just understand that these companies are not benevolent entities that are going to be coming to your rescue when the whole world needs a bicycle. Like, that's not how it works. They will sit on a warehouse full of bicycles and happily double their profits.
Mm-hmm.
So get it now. We talked a few weeks ago about, you know, would you rather shop with today's dollars or tomorrow's dollars? And today's dollars are always going to be more powerful than tomorrow's dollars.
Yes, for most things. Now, there are a few things that we recommend you wait on if you can.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, real estate.
Real estate
is actively crashing in most markets, and almost every type of real estate. The real estate bubble reset thing is actively happening. So what that's going to look like and how long and how much, those are unknowns. But yeah, if you don't need to buy real estate right now, I wouldn't. Now, if
right,
you're,
and if you do need to buy real estate, make sure you're financing as little of it as possible.
Well, just be careful. I wouldn't necessarily say that, because interest rates are going to continue to go up a little bit more, and they're going to stay up for a couple of years, if not longer, until they get artificially influenced again, which we think is likely to happen in about 2 years. So treat it that way. But historically, we're still at low interest rates. This is still a historically lower interest rate right now. So to say not to buy because they'll go down, I wouldn't make that advice.
No, I'm just saying, all I was saying is finance as little of it as possible. If you can put your cash into your property.
I say finance as little of anything as possible, simply because you don't want to be beholden to a system of owing money. Unless you are very secure in where you're getting your money and how you're going to be paying that money. I, for one, do not want to be beholden to the U.S. dollar. And I am going to continue to move into the bartering system as much as possible. Even to the point where if I have to pay taxes on my barters, that is one thing. That's fine. I'm not trying to avoid taxes by bartering. I'm trying to diminish the amount of U.S. dollars I have to exchange through companies that charge money and interest and other things.
Absolutely.
We're not telling anyone to avoid the tax man, as in like do illegal things. Not. That's not what we're saying.
No, but the tax man doesn't come into play when I go and butcher chickens for a friend and she gives me a piglet that I go home and put in the freezer and my family eats.
Well,
the
it does.
taxman doesn't come into play in that.
It legally it does. So don't talk about that.
Well, I disagree. But okay, we don't have to talk
Well, that's
about
not up to debate. It's and that's exactly why they're trying to crack down on the Venmo thing and catch the microtransactions. If you sell your car and make a profit, it doesn't even matter if you don't make a profit because you need to prove your tax basis. So all transactions, physical goods, services, you name it, are taxable events now.
Yeah.
So avoid talking about them, or be prepared to account for your tax basis. And when I say tax basis, I mean if you sell something for $5, be able to prove that you bought it for $7 or at least $5 or whatever you bought it for, or the IRS is going to assume that you grew it, made it, and are paying taxes on $5. And if you sell a chicken that's worth $5, they want their $5 in taxes.
Right, but I didn't sell a chicken. I'm talking about somebody else.
Trading goods and services is the same. So it's just like if you receive a housing allowance benefit, there's no money that exchanges hands at all. You just get to live somewhere. You are taxable for the fair market rent of that place you're living in. No, so if someone gives you meals, if they give you food, you are taxable for the fair market value of the food you were given. So you would actually need to explain that you traded something of value, hopefully equivalent, so there's non-existent taxes. So that's going to be the key word. And again, we are not tax experts. Talk to someone who is, but you want to be able to prove that you had an equivalent value that you traded same. So there's no benefit and taxable event. That's what we're saying.
Sure.
Other than that, don't listen to us for tax advice. I may be somewhat of a financial expert, but it's not in taxes.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're a chicken expert, but not a financial guru in the sales of chickens, or trading or bartering of chickens.
That's correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
So
self.
I think that,
now, but here's what they get right now. They don't tax you. So and we shouldn't say they don't. There are states that have personal property taxes, right? The people who have to pay a tax, like for the car that they own, just because they own it. So that's a different kind of a tax.
I can't imagine what kind of state would do that, Missouri.
Yeah, there are some. It's actually really, it's in the South a lot because people there, historically didn't own property, so they had to come up with ways to tax people.
I'm pretty sure we fought a war about double taxation, and right now
we're
staring
way
down
more
the
than
barrel of
doubled.
triple taxation.
At least.
Because when you pay a state income tax.
Yep, on the money you earn.
You pay a sales tax on the vehicle you bought.
Stuff
and
you buy.
The next year you pay a personal property tax on that vehicle.
Yep. And then the year after that you pay
government.
And then if the value of that goes up, you pay a gains tax now. And then if you sell it, not only is there potentially a sales tax depending on who you are and how you did it, but you damn sure have another income tax on the sale of that. So we're talking about 5 to 6 tax events, not to mention the registration, insurance, fuel,
all of it,
parts,
the tax you pay on the fuel. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we fought a war over double taxation, and now we are staring down the barrel of quadruple, quintuple taxation.
Right. Well,
like when do we hoist the colors? Like that's my big question.
I say go for it. I say do it like yesterday. Clearly, the militant left, the Antifas, they've already started a war. We just refuse to acknowledge that it's happening.
No, I acknowledge that it's happening.
They're fighting against the man also in their own way, in their own snowflake tantrum way.
It's true. They are. They absolutely are. So, I mean, I just can't wait to ask the question if they actually make it through with this whole college debt forgiveness thing. If it actually happens, I just can't wait to ask the question. Like, okay, when are you going to start reimbursing all of the college debt that I have paid. You know, like I just like, okay, if we're gonna do it, make it fair. Because if it's not fair, then we got to waste the colors.
It's not fair. It's never going to be fair.
Never going to be fair. And that's really my point. I'm not actually advocating let's make it fair. My point is that it's never going to be fair. So stop it.
Oh. So that's the Antifa anarchist war.
Yep.
What else?
Well, I think we're seeing
the Twitter files.
I think the Twitter files. Talk about the Twitter files, man, because I'm not caught up. I'm catching some headlines.
So the latest.
I know that right now Congress is talking about bringing Elon
Schiff
under review.
Yeah, Schiff just announced that he is actively investigating Elon. And he's just one of many. There are multiple Democrats, including the Biden administration, under executive order that are actively investigating Elon for anything that they can find. And of course, we know that they will invent things and come up with bogus things. The city of San Francisco has been going after Elon for zoning code violations of stuff that was already in the building, forever ago. But, Elon's not in hiding, but he's being extremely careful now. He's said that he's probably not going to do public events in the same way ever again. His life has been threatened. A lot of the big players on Twitter have been threatened. Shots were fired at Tim Pool's compound this week. He continues to be swatted on a regular basis. They had someone actively break into one of their buildings, which he gets doxxed constantly.
Whether you like Tim Pool or not, I don't always agree with Tim Pool by any stretch of the imagination.
No, he's the original Occupy Wall Street crowd.
Exactly. But the fact that they are actively weaponizing the law enforcement against him, the fact that he is being attacked because he has the right to free speech.
Yeah.
Now, free speech does not and will not ever mean freedom from consequences of the things that you say.
No, just understand that there's also a consequence if you sneak in the window and try to attack someone like Tim Pool. Expect to get shot in the face. Expect a whole lot of this liberal crowd thinks that they can, you may have free speech, but I can come punch you in the face for that free speech. Well, good luck.
Nope.
You don't understand. I don't believe in fighting fair. You use physical violence. I use physical violence. I win. Game over. Rittenhouse is back in court.
Oh, have the civil trials begun?
Civil trials. Yep.
He's going to win.
I hope he's going to win. It takes money to win. So far, he's only raised about $35,000. He's having to fund this lawsuit.
He's still sitting on some money from before, though, too. So he's got about $1 million from before.
I don't know that he's actually collected any of it, but yeah.
That he is holding in reserve.
Let's not forget that a lot of the money that was loaned to him for his defense had to be paid back out of the money that he got.
Well, and let's not forget that a lot of the money for his defense wasn't a loan. So one hand paid the other hand straight out of the gate, and there was still money left over. I think the last time I read about the theory of his financials, because a lot of it was very private, which it should be. It should be private. Like, we shouldn't have
until you're doing a change.org, please give me money.
Right. Okay. Yeah, there you go. But I know that, a lot of the money from Ricky Schroeder and a lot of the money from the MyPillow guy, those were not loans. Those were, we want to support you. We believe that winning this case is good for America.
Yeah.
And then
Schroeder.
there were some loans.
There were.
And so, a lot of the money that was given was actually really committed to be given at the end, and all that. Anyway, it was very convoluted and very complicated. But I know that he's raised about, like you said, about $30,000 now. Some money that he had left over. They estimated about $1 million left over. And so I'm really hoping that's the case. Could be wrong, but I'm really hoping that's the case. And he and so
well, the money that is against him though is significant. The Chicago-based law firm that is representing the government is also suing him again, as well as surviving families and his assailants. They are all getting money from liberal sources. They have an unending amounts of hundreds of $1 million.
Yeah.
So that's the tough thing.
100%.
When you have hundreds of lawyers coming after you from hundreds of millions of dollars, it's just tough. The reality is, we need to physically put a stop to that. We need to stop allowing these abuses to happen in our country. We need to stop allowing the courts to do this.
100%.
They ruin
100%.
the lives of good people while completely enabling the lives of evil.
Malicious prosecution and malicious lawsuits. Yeah. We need court reform more than ever in this country. Like court reform, tort reform,
yeah.
Hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
And we need it so very, very badly. Related to attorneys, and I just don't care. The system needs to be revamped, and these ambulance chasers, not the right word for it. They're really what they are is
they make their millions doing this. They can become very rich doing this because they get percentages. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So yeah, I think that we really, really need to see a total rebuild of the lawsuit system in this country. There needs to be a qualifying panel, or something. And I don't know.
It's like everything. They've infected the education system for generations. Sure. And it is really hard to bring correction to a system that is multi-generational deep.
It's interesting you say that, because today the Warrior Poets Society released a 25-minute interview with Mark Driscoll. So John Lovell interviewed Mark Driscoll, and they're talking about.
So if you don't know, Mark Driscoll is the famous pastor from Mars Hill in the Seattle area that had a kind of a public fall from grace a couple years ago. So what was the interview about?
Yeah. So just masculinity and the country at large, and how did this happen, and what do we do now?
How did we get there?
And a lot of the things we talk about, and Driscoll's point today, John was asking, how did this happen? And he's like, absolutely. Hand in glove, education, the educational system, and social media. Like those two things, hand in glove, have completely reset America
and the church. And I would couple that with the church.
And the church.
The church 100%. Has not been the church because they've been afraid to be the church because of the feminization of the popular evangelical movement. And when men stop being men, women start to take over, and it's not a healthy model. And it would take a lot of time to explore that, because it's not as anti-women as it sounds. It's just embracing roles, because we're meant to fulfill different roles together, not individually as separate. And when a man can't do what they're supposed to do in congruence with what a woman is supposed to do, neither one are able to do both well. One cannot replace the other, and one cannot do it alone. And the church is the same way. And so we have let the government replace the church.
I'm going to put you on mute for just a second. Hold on one moment.
Okay, we're losing the real Kirk for a moment. He's actively driving across the country. So this is pre-recorded. If you don't know, we're in season 2 of the Prep Pastors podcast, and we have been pre-recording 3 of our 4 episodes a month, and then the first Friday is when the show comes out. If you are a paid subscriber, if you're hearing this on Saturday or Sunday or some other day, you're kind of getting it after the fact. But if you are a paid subscriber on one of our platforms, we're on Locals. I don't know if we're doing membership on Rumble yet, but that'll be coming, I think. But working with Locals and then YouTube, and of course Facebook. Some stuff still ends up on Facebook, but we don't live stream directly to Facebook or YouTube anymore. If you catch one of those, it's just by circumstance, because once a month, first Friday of the month, we are doing a live show when possible. The rest of the time, this is pre-recorded 1 to 2 days before it goes live. And then all of our paid memberships get access a minimum of 24 hours, we try, before. So if you'd like to know how to do that, there should be links where you can search for us. But our big thing we're pushing to is getting everything onto Locals and having paid memberships there and doing subscriber-only events into what we call the bunker. So the bunker is for multi-pass card holders, and our multi-pass card holders are our paid subscribers of the various levels. Anyway, so that's how that works, if you were wondering. We'll get the real Kirk back in a minute, I'm sure. I think we're still connected. Yeah, we're still connected. So
we are.
Oh, there you are.
We are still connected. I'm back. I'm back again. I had a
You get pulled over?
deal with a toll. I had to pay, no. Did I get pulled
Had to
over?
pay
No.
a tax.
I had to pay a tax. I had to get on the Will Rogers Turnpike, and
Okay.
these jackwagons, they're always stealing your money. They're always stealing your money.
I actually support toll roads. So toll roads, in theory, should be straighter, faster, privately operated, in a better condition, right?
Sure.
And you pay for that.
Sure.
It's
I
like
agree.
using FedEx and
But-
UPS. I would rather use FedEx and UPS for a little bit more money, theoretically get a better, safer service, and then we could get rid of the post office and all of their government funding.
But when you're on I-44,
I have no
which is
idea.
a multi-state thoroughfare,
Okay.
that was federally funded from the beginning, you should not be able to charge me a toll. Now, like in Florida, when they're in Florida, you have the option of going the slow way or the fast way.
Mhm.
Slow way's free, fast way's pay. I'm down with that.
Mhm.
But when there's only one primary way across the state, it kind of sucks. Kind of sucks a little bit. But I'm with you. I am with you in the context of if it is straighter, faster, and better, I will pay you for it. 100%. I agree.
How much does it cost?
Well,
I'm in
about
a
an
toll
hour
road probably
ago,
20
right,
years.
Right before because I have a trailer on. So right before I got on the podcast, I paid $12.50. So and less than an hour later, I paid another $2.50. So it's getting a little crazy because I've paid multiple tolls, and it's like
You said $2?
gosh, this one, thankfully, I actually thought I was in trouble because I was out of cash. I was almost out of cash. And a lot of the toll booths, you hit your card and they take you. But the last two that I've been through have been cash only. And, so I was like, I'm like running low on cash here. So then my next stop will be to procure some cash.
Amongst other discussions of readiness, having sufficient quantities of cash,
Well, okay.
especially when you travel.
Apart from climbing in the back and accessing my
Okay.
bag,
So you have emergency
and-
cash. You
and-
don't have at-hand ready
know.
cash. All right. I'll let you
I'm
go.
not gonna hand a $100 bill from my go bag to a toll booth.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All
like,
right. I was concerned that you had made, violated
No,
rule number 4 of traveling,
No,
which is to have enough
I've
cash to pay bribes
got-
and otherwise
I
get
got
yourself
big-
home.
I always have the contingency fund, but like I don't open that baggie unless I have to, and
Yeah.
so like I'm not gonna get held hostage for $12.
It's a little hard to access the
access-
prison purse while you're sitting down.
Valid.
It's a safe place to store it.
Correct.
How many silver coins?
So, how many silver coins do I have in my prison pouch? No. But anyway, I think that thank you for breaking down for everybody. I was listening to you. You're talking about bunker and pre-record and all those kinds of things. And I think the pre-record is working pretty well. And so we're going to continue. Like, I love the fact that we're doing one live a month.
And we're going to keep trying to do that.
You can still go back and watch it.
Right. Yeah, it was last week. Us in the course of a year, it's possible once or twice we won't be able to do it, or we have to move it. But
or it'll be a holiday weekend, which everybody knows we don't do holidays. We don't go on Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Those.
Right.
So depending on where 4th of July falls, we're probably not going to do an episode that. If it fell on Memorial Day, I'm certainly not going to try to get you on the broadcast for Memorial Day.
Yeah, I don't do anything public on Memorial Day. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. That's a reverent day. Like, and Phil and I are both in the same boat. Even though I'm not a veteran, like, I don't really do the barbecues and the let's go have a party on Memorial Day. I usually take my son to the woods. Most of the time on Memorial Day, we go turkey hunting. And we go sit alone in the woods. We make it a quiet day that we, So anyway.
Yeah, I don't mind doing things, American things with families, getting together. But public things, or I don't want to be a part of a public event on a day like that. I don't want to host or whatever. And I've had. Right. It's not that we haven't or don't. Both of us have been at times in our lives where we didn't get to choose. When and where we did things. And both of us are now at points in our lives where we do get to choose when and where we do things.
You get to choose.
As long as that continues, we'll continue to make those sorts of choices. But anyway, we like doing the live show. We'd like to do some call-in stuff on our live shows. Next, in fact, we may as well throw it out there now. The next live show will be in January, and I'll pull up a calendar so I can tell you what that's going to be. The first Friday in January is the 6th of January. I'm looking good for that. I'm sure you're looking good still.
I'm looking good for that.
We'll be doing a live show, and we'll probably be looking for one or two either call-ins or arranged co-whatevers, and we'll see whether they're on the whole time or not, or just call in for something. We're hoping that Mr. Craven's got a good announcement. He's got a book fixing to drop. I know he's close on it. I know he's got a lot going on.
Hopefully, but I know he's already promised that when he drops the book, he's coming on the show and talk about it. So
cool, and we'll be able to do that a lot better this time. So, Anyway, we're excited for that. If not Mr. Craven, then someone else. I've talked with a couple of others. Yep. Plus, we could have one of our supporters.
I have to. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I said I have to. I've been emailing another author as well, so hopefully we're going to be able to get some folks on there, and it's going to be a good time. I think we got some neat stuff coming ahead in season 2, and I think that we got some cool stuff to talk about. I started a new book series by an author I've never read today. I don't want to talk about it until I get far enough in to say whether it's good or bad. Yeah. I don't want to endorse somebody that ends up being a jackwagon, is what I'm trying to say. But it started off very, very well. I'm excited about it. It's a little bit in the future, but it's in the past tense. So I kind of dig that. Like, it's in 2038, but it's being written in the past tense, like it already happened, which is a really cool twist on things. And it's a China, Taiwan, SHTF situation. So could be a good series for us to take a look at on the show. I don't know.
Okay. I just finished a series by Tom Abrams. That was quite good. So.
Oh. Yeah. How was that? That was
the Spaceman.
What was the name of that again?
A Dark World: The Complete Spaceman Chronicles. It's a 3 or 4 book series. The primary character is on the space station during a coronal mass ejection that ends up affecting the globe. And so it chronicles his trip home, getting back to his family. So, and then obviously there's a couple. So it's an EMP, but it's a natural EMP, right?
Right.
To the level of, but there's some other stuff, and I think he's got an opportunity to do some side books, which he does. He does side series that are related in the same world. That's kind of what he does. Amongst that, there are, this whole crowd of the Great Reset crowd kind of enters into that, and, that whole crowd has always waited for some sort of a mass, whether they could start the crisis or just take advantage of an existing crisis. And so in this case, there's a natural crisis that's a global event, and they take advantage of that. And so that kind of plays in as well. But no, it was a good book. It was pretty good. I was in the middle of another series, which I think I talked about on the show briefly, by John Birmingham, which was pretty good, but started to get rather sexually explicit, which I don't like it. I don't, as long as I can blip past it, kind of like be like, all right, let's skip this chapter or skip forward, get away from it, then I'll sort of do that. But I won't listen to stuff like that around my children. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny. I don't have a problem if someone's writing like that. And like you say, like I can blip past it. My problem is when they force you to listen to it because
then you miss dialogue, right? You miss important things to the story.
That's what I hate.
I don't know. So I put it down like halfway through the second book of the series, and I haven't been back to it. I'm not sure if I will go back to it. I would just say for Birmingham, you didn't need to do that. It could have.
Well, yeah.
It could have been done better.
Was that the free? Was that the free series that you?
It was a Prime one. Yep. It was. It started off as a free Prime one. I don't know if the second or the whole thing was, or if I bought it. I don't know.
Birmingham. Yeah, John Birmingham. The last book of the series was American Kill Switch. There was a 3-book series. I liked that series.
Did you get through the whole thing?
I did. I listened to all 3 books, and all 3 books are free if you have if you have
Prime
and Audible combo. Like you got to have kind of both players to get it free. But it was. There was in book 1 that one kind of sexual deal.
Book 2 is a lot of it.
I don't remember.
It's just the one character. The one character in the city close to Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm to the point now where I'm skipping everything to do with that one character.
Well, yeah, and to be really honest with you, he only matters at the end of the series.
Yeah, I know he's going to come into play at some point, but the other characters I like. So you get introduced to a combat veteran, a former British police officer, a service dog, an is it NSA or some sort of intelligence?
National Security Council, NSC.
Okay, and then another, like a blogger, researcher, journalist who ends up getting caught into that crowd. And so the 4 of them are making their way, Montana or something, from DC.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I've just set it down and moved on. I don't know if I'll come back to it or not, because, I just don't appreciate, want, or need any of that sexual content. So.
Right. I'm with you. I just skipped past it. I just skipped his chapters. Yeah.
I kind of hate that we're even talking about it now, other than I know I mentioned on the show. Normally that's enough for me to say we're not going to talk about it on our show. You won't get publicity from us. So I apologize that it's made its way into the show. If anybody has not listened to it, I don't recommend picking it up. It's not worth it. The rest of it is not redeeming enough that it's worth it.
Yeah. Yep, exactly right.
Stick with Goodwin. Go with Abram or not? Yeah, Tom Abrams has written a couple of them. Definitely Boyd Craven.
Yeah.
They're just our better authors out there that don't need to weave that through it, and they can say they can relate the same things happening without doing that.
I'm especially considering I'm getting ready to be at that season of the year that I listen to the Days of Noah about once a year.
Oh, do you?
And I'm about there again. I would if you're looking for a series to jump into,
Goodwin just finished.
Jumping into the Days of Noah.
Goodwin just finished his. I don't have it with me. It's on my Kindle. His latest series, right? The latest book dropped about 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I think
really?
it's the last. I think it's the last in that series.
Really?
Was it Stacy that was reading it?
No. The Days of Noah. No, Days of Noah finished, and then it went into the.
No, I'm talking about his newest series.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Okay. But Days of Noah is a great one to get into.
Oh, really, really great. Yeah, you didn't like the Stacey Gomboski ones when she reads them. She's the author of the last series.
I could do it on a long drive. I could do it on something where I could, listen and focus. But I can't do it to go to sleep or the other ways that I listen to books. I can't do it.
Right.
So I'll probably just read it. It's on my Kindle.
Right. So as we wrap up here, let's talk a little bit about our buying guide. So we'll probably break this section of video out, make it a standalone video, or maybe we may shoot this again just because I'm doing the call.
If we do a proper buyer's guide, we'll reshoot. But here's a preview.
Yeah, we'll reshoot. So I want you to, I've only got about 3 items. I went with smaller gear stuff that people can afford. Other than I have one suggestion that is kind of pretty expensive. Let's go shot for shot. You go first.
Well, I'm anti-buyer's guide right now. So,
you don't want to do it at all?
No, I don't think now is the time to be buying things. If you're, you need your cash. You need your money. Pay off your credit.
See, and I actually go to the other side of the coin. I love the fact that we are not always in the 100%.
No, we're not. Yeah.
I think the American dollar is about to die a horrible screaming death.
Okay.
And I'm in a position where I don't have a lot of debt. So like, I'm not super worried about my debt. And I know there's a lot of other people out there too. So I'm not anti-buying guide because I think that a lot of people are going to spend money regardless because it's Christmas time and they're looking to buy the prepper in their life, a gift. So maybe I just do this. Maybe I do the buyer's guide on Free State Homestead channel, and
that's fine too.
Yeah, that works.
Because we always will say that cover your basics, which you talked about a couple weeks ago and did a video on. You need your security, you need your food, you need to cover your basics. You need to cover your triangle of needs. You need to make sure that you can survive in what's coming and what's actively happening. We talked at the beginning of the show about the Antifa attacks on our electrical grid and system, and they're going to continue to focus their attacks on infrastructure so that they can disrupt people's lives. And so you need to be able to do whatever it is you're going to do. So if you're going to hunker down, then prepare to hunker down. If you're going to continue going to work, then make sure you have the means to continue going to work.
Right.
That's what we're saying. If you have children that are going to need clothes, well, you should probably get those clothes now. As far as a buyer's guide, I'm not actively looking for anything. So I don't know what kind of sales or whatever. I watch Walmart, but I can't buy things on Walmart right now. I refuse to pay locational upcharges. They're not shipping for free necessarily. Like, it doesn't work the same way that it did. Amazon.
Yeah, Walmart has made some major changes for you guys in Alaska. I mean,
and Amazon's the same way.
They're actively punishing you. Yeah.
And it's due to the costs of shipping and the fact that the railroad is striking in one way or the other. The post office is striking in different ways, and both of those are on the potential and threatening for total strikes, which will affect everybody. But the games that they're playing right now are affecting my state. So, we're just it's a different thing. So again, I don't have specific things. If you need firearms, then get firearms. If you need ammunition, get ammunition. Secure your local trade. So like you're talking about, bartering chickens for chickens or work for whatever or whatever the things that you need. Our whole point is shore up your system. Shore it up. Yeah. Whatever you got to do to shore that up. If you want to buy me something, why don't you send me some gold and silver? If you want
There
to
you go.
know what to give to anybody, precious metals is never wrong.
Right.
Silver's cheap. People think it's expensive to buy a bunch of silver. It's really not.
It's really not. It's really not. And you know what? Grandparents out there, if you're a grandparent right now, a shiny silver coin for your grandkids, man.
And even if they lose
explain
it,
to them that
they're like $30. You're going to spend more than $30.
yeah, you're gonna spend more than $30. So and explain to them like this is a treasure. Like put it somewhere where
This
you're not
world
gonna lose
treasure.
it.
Yeah. This world treasure.
Yeah, this world treasure. This world treasure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So obviously,
Make it neat.
treasures
Get them a
in heaven
small
are
little
more
box
valuable.
that locks up and get you a bunch of little, quarter ounce stuff so you could have
Heck yeah.
quantity in there. It'll look like a little pirate's treasure and teach them, land nav skills, go bury it. There's all kinds of fun activities.
Maybe. Oh, that would be way, way cool. And I'll tell you right now, my son would be over the moon if he got a treasure map and there were buried caches around the property. I should have told that man. I'm thinking that I should have had grandparents do that this year. Too late now.
Yeah. Well,
He asked for a really nice gun cleaning kit, and Granny jumped online and ordered that straight away. So he's got a nice gun cleaning kit coming.
Yeah, I always support buying children firearms or firearms related things. I don't, I'm not a big fan of the throwaway cheapo plastic guns. Buy heirloom, buy quality, buy good stuff. My kids got Browning firearms.
Yep.
I buy stuff that I want them to hand off to their children. Because as of right now, we can still do that. We're not Canada. Canada has said that you cannot pass on your firearms. Your firearms are individually licensed to the person who got permission to have them. They're grandfathering a lot, but what they're not doing is allowing them to be passed on. So, they have a list. And if anybody in this country thinks that our country doesn't have a list, you're stupid. You're an idiot. You're ignoring reality.
Yep.
That is not true. They absolutely do have a list, which is why I tell people, skip your FFL for anything that really matters, or at least have a sizable portion of your firearms purchased private party off of the gun registration, which does exist in our country.
Correct.
So I'm not saying don't support your local
100%.
FFL, because you do need to support your local FFL. You need to buy stuff from them. I try to buy something once a quarter from my local FFL. I got to keep them open, keep them in business.
But you can buy parts. You can buy ammo.
And I'm of
pay
the
them to
sort
do
that
work
says
for you
when
if
they
they're
show up to say, well, we've got this list, we need to get all these guns from you, I'm just going to shoot them in the face. Not everybody's going to do that. A lot of people are going to hand them over and then go to their backup supply, which is the stuff that they picked up off the street, 3D printed or milled out themselves, which I have plenty of those too. So good luck finding all those.
Correct.
But do support your local FFL. Do what you can to keep them in business. And by that, I don't mean go support Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, and Sportsman's Warehouse.
No.
They could all go away. They're not helping any of us. They just give money to our enemy anyway. They don't need your support. I'm talking your small town local, the shop that you go into where he tells you, tries to sell you a high point, that sort of, you go support that guy.
Yeah. Right.
The one who pushes Taurus on you, right? Where you're like, just grin and nod and say, thank you very much. Order me this SIG.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll take that Thunder Ranch 12 gauge off the shelf instead. If it's got a
there you
Thunder
go.
Ranch
That's
endorsement on it or a War Poet Society endorsement on it, it's pretty good. It's been vetted.
It's generally pretty well built.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily high end Razoo. It's not the best of the best.
No.
But it's not junk. Verified, not junk.
Correct.
And that's not nothing.
Certified, not junk. No, it's not nothing, and especially
because a lot of people don't know where to start. Yeah.
Right, and especially anything with there's two references. I mean, there's other companies out there that put their label on anything that they can.
I'm
find,
sure there
right?
are.
But,
I can't think of anything. Can you think of some?
But
I can't.
Yeah, there's a few, but some of them I don't even really want to say their names. But
that's fine.
But I would say this.
If you're not sure,
Poet
you can join the membership, get into the bunker and ask.
That's exactly right. But I would say Warport and Thunder Ranch, if their logo goes on the side of it, they are actively about the design and implementation of it. They are not just shills for that company.
They're not just slapping it on there. I think Thunder Ranch has endorsed the new Mossberg 940 tactical, which I would buy. I would spend the money to buy one of those. I have an older 930 kind of built better than the Thunder Ranch one, but Thunder Ranch is a good package to go with. They those are good places to start and to go with, but I lost my train of thought. I was just going to say, get into the bunker and ask. What were you going to say?
Right. No, I think that was right. I was just saying that they were about those two particular companies are about the design work that goes into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not just about, shilling and giving an endorsement. So
I'm sure they get a percentage. It's not as much as you think.
It's definitely not as much as you think.
It's not as much as you might think. They're more about the mission than the dollar amount. And I remember what I was going to say. Right. I wholeheartedly would endorse both of those organizations as being believer-led organizations. They are not just good organizations. They are good people. They are believers. They're believers in not just Christianity, true Christ followers, but they're also believers in our country, our ideals, our ethics. They're good companies.
Correct.
Full of good people. Correct. That's why we endorse them.
Correct.
We know personally a bunch of them enough to say with good conscience that we wholeheartedly endorse them.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's probably, we're going to wrap that up for this week's show. We will have another show next week. If you're watching this in the afterplay, remember that if you can find us in locals, we're moving away from Patreon, but if you can find us in locals, you can watch this about a day earlier. We will start, possibly next week, we will start having a segment that is not fully public of the regular show. And so we'll see we're still hammering out what that looks like how much of the segment, right? How much is going to just, do you not get to see? This week, they're just staring at a picture of you anyway, so I don't know that covering it up doesn't do much. But exactly. When we start whipping out some guns and other, fun stuff, we'll probably cover that up for the public sections. So I like the way Shapiro does it. I like the way that some of the other. I'm trying to think who else does that. Did Warrior Poet do that for a while? I don't remember.
Well, Warrior Poet is primarily producing stuff for their own network now, and so they make small stuff, or they give you an abbreviated portion, on
it's
YouTube,
basically their advertising now. Yeah, they're advertising, which their network is great. I support. It's not expensive. I've been a member since before they started. I don't really pull it up very often, but do you recall how much it is a year? I'm grandfathered in at the initial rate, so I don't.
I don't know. We cut everything back when we moved, so I don't have anything right now. And I was actually hoping to catch maybe Daily Wire on a Christmas special or something like that. But no, I don't know what anything costs anymore because I killed all of my.
I'm having a hard time pushing Daily Wire anymore. I think their hypocritical content has reached my limit. Some of the battles they've chosen, I don't agree with.
Correct.
Tough one for me. I will maintain some level of membership with them, but the all access, like $300 a year, I'm probably not going to continue.
I would say if you're looking for a news outlet app, I'd probably just go for it. You're gonna get Crowder. You're gonna get Glenn Beck and a few other things.
I do Crowder, $69 a year for military. Yeah, that's a no brainer for me. I don't give them money,
and that gets you Blaze. So if you do Mug Club through Crowder, you get Blaze. So that's. Oh yeah,
so the other guys are on Blaze too, right? Is there? I don't watch anything else on there because the PragerU stuff is also on Daily Wire. So, but PragerU has good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, better yet, just pay us and we'll tell you what you need to know. We'll act like we're Lutherans or Catholics, and you don't really need to read the Bible. Sure. You can just hear it from us.
Oh, dude. Oh my gosh. Woo, I can't even make jokes like that. Oh,
yeah.
Read your Bible.
Yeah.
Read your Bible.
Read your Bible.
And by the way, you know what?
What?
You know what? Actually, let's end on that point. Hey, you know the best prep that you can do for yourself?
If you don't have paper Bible,
blow the dust off your Bible.
Get on your knees.
Blow the dust off your Bible and get on your knees and pray.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best prep you can do.
Well, the best
pray,
purchase you'll ever
open up
make
your
is the
Bible
one that
and
God
listen.
tells you to make. The one that the Holy Spirit, like when you're looking at something and there's a stirring inside of you. I've never been wrong in making that purchase every time.
I totally agree. I have never regretted pulling the trigger on something where I literally felt everything in my gut say move forward on this purchase.
I will tell you, I'll give you an example of one before COVID hit, right? Before we knew about COVID, before it was even a thing. The wife and I were running through Fred Meyer, and there just happened to be a meat sale. And it was a good meat sale, and something stirred inside of me and said, you need to buy all of it. And I filled like 2 or 3 carts with whole chickens and lots of beef. And literally, and then we went out of town to go to a conference, and like while we were out of town, everything dropped. We come back and overnight prices were not just tripled, but then not available. And we didn't have to buy meat for like a year. Because I just happened to be, I don't remember, I was probably getting half and half. Like I wasn't intending on buying out the store. But it was the Holy Spirit prompting in my heart. And the wife happened to be there. I would have done it anyway. I don't think it was even a lot of money. I would be surprised if I even spent $1,000 because that's what you can.
I've absolutely had moments like that. I mean, pre-COVID, we had a whole event like where I sat the men of our church down and was like, hey, let's talk about
something stirring in my heart. Yeah.
What should we
do this now?
And I felt the stirring in my heart and,
right.
And do this right now. And like our church was absolutely arrow focused, ready to respond to a COVID event. And I feel like we
all that came down the pike and you guys were able to be generous.
We were able to be very generous. We were, and not to mention we were like, you'll remember the fall before COVID. Like I felt like a genuine stirring to pick up a bunch of video production gear, to dial up our live streaming stuff. I got critiques from pastors in our
we got slammed
telling me that live stream church would never be real church. I was wasting church resources, and I'm like, man, I just felt this. The Holy Spirit told me to do this, and bang, COVID hits 4 or 5 months later,
and Oregon was shutting down churches.
You couldn't buy a webcam in Oregon was shutting down church.
Yeah, I bought my first. I bought my first video camera back then too, and some of the switchers. I think I bought my Rode. Did I get the Podcaster back then? I don't remember. That was about the same time.
I think we got both of us got our podcasters mid COVID, but
was
I think
it later?
We both got cameras.
Yeah,
I think we got those. Like I got the Elgato Stream Deck.
Right.
There was a bunch of stuff. Like I upgraded I went to a multi-camera system. We really dialed up the quality of our live stream stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And the church couldn't afford it, but I felt God told me to do it. So like, and so really, I mean, it was
later on. You could not have afforded not to. Like, yeah.
You could not have, but even more than that, like I bought half of the equipment myself. And the church bought half of the equipment. And basically, when it was time for me to part ways with the church, I was able to leave with a full live streaming rig that belonged to me, and I didn't gut the church. And so there was a multi-layered. God knew what was going on for years down the road.
Yeah, and that just doesn't happen if you're not living in the Spirit. And I realize to outside ears that don't understand that it doesn't make a lot of sense, or it even sounds weird. It does.
The ways of the cross are
not
foolish
only
for them who are perishing.
Not only does it sound weird, it is a little weird, and it takes practice. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about that stuff before, and I'm with you. This is a good way to end the show. We both are in agreement. Hit your knees is a theoretical. What we're saying is just be in prayer and conversation with God. Get closer to God. Read your Bible so He can speak to you. Not just in the impressions of your heart and the urgings of that, but through the Word itself.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
if you don't know where to start, again, great places to pop into one of our paid forums that doesn't cost much and ask questions. I mean, feel free to ask other places. We're just not watching them as much. We're a little harder to get a hold of.
And it's funny because the supporters that we've had over the last year and a half or so
it's been interesting.
have not really utilized the question. they've really been more about supporting us and like, hey, we believe in you, and we're so grateful for those people.
There's been some.
Like,
really, I mean, we've talked about septic systems to one supporter. We talked about firearms. We did like a whole AR-15 rifle class with one.
We did.
Yeah, individualized stuff.
But overarchingly, they didn't support us to get anything out of it, and I really hope that we can build a clientele of people who we're giving and taking, and it's a mutual relationship. Like, I want to be helping people, you know. So, and Phil and I are that kind of people. So anyway, on that note,
that's a good place to end it.
Crap.
Yeah, if it's not too late, but you know. It is how it is. All right, I'm going to roll into the outro, and you hang on the phone so we can finish some stuff up after I shut this off. So on to the outro.